Hey guys, this is ALOC88 bringing you another guide video on how to improve with Strand on the Hunter in PvP. Strand is our second darkness subclass added during Lightfall and embraces high-flying gameplay with the use of the new grapple grenade. We're going to discuss armor mods, aspects, and fragments needed to find success in PvP. We'll be focusing on Hunter's class as it gains the most from Strand in mobility and aerial gameplay. Alright, like I said before, we're going to be starting with the Hunter Strand subclass as they gain the most mobility from the subclass. And at first, we're going to start with the stat distribution. And typically, like always with the Hunter, we always want to run 100 mobility, and then the next important stat for Hunter in any subclass for PvP is recovery. Always want to try to get that as high as possible, at least 100 if not 90. And the next stat we want to focus on is discipline. I want to try to get that up as high as possible in order to use my grapple as much as possible. With 60 discipline, or grenade ability cooldown is about a minute and 20 seconds. There's going to be some other ways we can help knock this cooldown further by our armor mods. The most important mod on the helmet is going to be your siphon mod, which allows you to make orbs of power for rapid defeats with whatever weapon you're using. You can also add some targeting mods, but the siphon mod is the most important for making orbs of power. On our gauntlets, the mods I use include grenade kickstart, which gives us a little energy back when we fully extend our grenade energy. With rocking about 3 kickstart mods, I'm able to get about a fourth maybe of my grenade energy back when I use the grapple. And also your armor charge is consumed and you gain additional grenade energy stack. So that's why it's important to be making orbs of power with the kinetic siphon or whatever siphon you're using on your helmet, because that's also going to give you more grenade energy. As for chest armor mods, you could typically run whatever you want. I typically run unflinching aim mods, and then I'll throw on charged up, gain extra stacks of armor charges. For our leg armor, I typically run stacks on stacks, which this will give us an additional armor charge for every orb of power that I pick up, so you'll get 2 armor charges. And I also run double innervation, which will give us some more grenade energy cooldown when we pick up those orbs of power, thus giving us shorter time on our grenade. On the cloak, I typically run triple bomber, which this reduces our grenade cooldown when we use our class ability. Overall, we have multiple ways to regenerate grenade energy through our mods, through orbs of power and class ability. So most of the time we'll have our grapple hook up as much as possible. Now let's move on to the subclass abilities, aspects, and fragments. First, this is the only subclass that I actually run marksman dodge, because it has the shorter cooldown over gambler's dodge, as I don't find the melee on Red Runner as beneficial as other subclasses. So I typically run marksman dodge for the faster cooldown of 29 seconds. As far as the jump, it's really user preference. In PvP, I'm always using strafe jump. The melee, the threaded spike is the only melee we have, which will actually bounce around targets and severing them. You are able to time it right. You can actually get some of that melee energy back. As far as the grenade, we have 3 grenades for all 3 classes, which is Fredling grenade, the shackle grenade, which suspends targets, and then the grapple. We're actually going to focus on the grapple grenade, as the hunter benefits the most from this grenade. As with all the strand subclasses, we only got 2 aspects this season. The first aspect is Ensnaring Slam, which actually uses your class ability while in the air. It'll slam and actually suspend targets, so they're not able to move. They are able to shoot from the hip, but they're not able to aim down the sight. Very beneficial for crowd control in PvP. The other aspect is Widow's Silk, which gives you 2 grenade charges. So we'll have 2 grapples, and your grapple creates a grapple tangle whenever you grapple. Therefore, if anyone else grapples on this tangle, it won't consume their grenade energy. Very useful for being able to use your second grapple multiple times. This is an example of your grapple making a grapple point. So I used my first grapple grenade to make grapple point. So I have 1 more charge left. Therefore, if I use it, I can keep using my grapple over and over again on this 1 grapple point without consuming any energy. As far as fragments go, most of the fragments I choose are focused on getting my grenade energy back or buffing the grapple in some way. The first fragment I use is Thread of Ascent, which, activating your grenade ability, reloads your weapon and it grants bonus AE and handling for a short duration. Also gives you plus 10 mobility, which is really important. So this is really good for being super aggressive, as if you push, it reloads your ammo and gives you bonuses to AE, so you're able to shoot in the air and have more handling. I typically use Thread of Mind, as this gives you class ability energy for defeating suspended targets. It gives you probably, it's hard to say, maybe a little less than 1/4 of energy. Maybe an 1/8. No, it's hard to say. But we will be suspending targets if we use our Ensnaring Slam, which very helpful. But this is definitely an optional strand fragment. You can definitely switch this out for whatever fragment you feel you want to use. The next fragment I use is Thread of Finality, which I honestly just use this for the bump to recovery. It gives you plus 10 recovery, as we're not going to be doing any finishers. Last but not least is Thread of Regeneration. This is probably the most important fragment in the build, as this gives you grenade energy just for dealing damage. So you're going to be dealing damage anyway with your weapon, so why not use a fragment that's going to buff that grenade energy while doing so. It does negatively impact your discipline, but I think we're going to make up for it with all the mods we're rocking on our armor. Exotics that synergize well with Strand include Stompies, as they go with anything, boosting your sprint speed, slide, and jump. This is what I use most of the time in PvP. You can also use something like Frosties, which will increase your ability cooldown for grenade, melee, dodge while you're sprinting. So you can definitely have your grenade up more often, but with our current loadout, you typically don't need that much. And then the one that came with this season is the Trinarchy Facade. I have no idea how you say that, but this basically gives you woven mail when you activate your grapple, which increases your damage resistance and also your flinch activated. So this is really good for survivability, but if your opponent's hitting all crits, this does nothing, as it does not give you damage resistance for headshot damage, only body shot damage. All right, now let's talk about some tips and tricks for using Strand in PvP. So we'll start with the grapple. Most people, when they grapple, they like to go in a straight line. Especially if you grapple an opponent and you're going straight at them, it makes you an easy target to shoot you out of the air. What I like to do is actually, if I grapple someone and I want to melee them, I'll actually go to the side and then come to the side and hit them along the side. Like this and something like that. Instead of making an easy target, you notice that I'm throwing my melee on some of the grapples. You have to still be holding the grenade button when you melee. Another cool feature to get across the map really quickly is actually do a little jump at the end of your grapple, and it will actually shoot you forward very far. That's why I use strafe jump. Again, we already discussed that the grapple points let you use your grapple indefinitely. You can also use your grapple to kind of go around corners. You go around the corner like that. You can actually swing yourself around sometimes too. Good way to like get a jump on an enemy. Another thing is sometimes you'll be fighting and you're fighting someone and you're behind cover and they're gonna push you, you're weak. What you can sometimes do is actually grapple up in the sky and kind of get the jump on them. You actually melee out towards another piece of cover. Melee out like that. So yeah, your grapple melee does about 130 damage. And it will knock the opponent backwards too. So it gives you a little bit of time to pull your gun out and damage them. Threaded spike. This will actually sever opponents and make them do less damage to you. So it'll actually bounce around targets and you're able to actually catch the spike as it comes back to you, and you can gain some of that energy determined on how many people it actually hit. So I throw it, you watch it come back, and if you don't time it just right, you will miss it. You almost have to wait till it's like too late, to where it's almost on you. You get almost half of your energy back. You'll get more. You'll get like 3/4 of your energy back if it hits multiple. But it's really about timing. Here's the ensnaring slam. A little better than shatter dive and trapper's ambush because you have some directional movement. I like to do this combo with the grapple. Just come up on them and slam on them and cause them to spin. And also the super. You have infinite grapples in your super and slams, but it does use up some of your power. A lot of people, they'll pop their super and just run around. And they won't use their grapple or their slam. So it's really important to use the grapple to get around because you're super squishy. Someone can shotgun melee you and kill you. So you got to use your mobility to actually get around the map. I'll show you the attacks. There's a light attack, which I think has about close to probably 15 meters of range. You have an AoE attack, which does less damage. The light attack will one-shot any enemy. You will have to do 2 light attacks on a Titan in a bubble and 2 light attacks on a warlock in a whale to kill them. So what I like to do for the whale is I'll slide in and slam on them and then hit them with 2 light attacks. But this super is very squishy and you really need to use mobility to your fullest or you're just gonna get melted. Thanks for watching my tips video on Strand. If you liked what you've seen, please make sure you give the video a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe.